Good morning, everyone. Chase Urich here, ready to get this morning call kicked off. I hope you had a tremendous weekend, just an awesome time with friends and family doing whatever it is you were doing. I hope you had a blast. As we get back into the swing of it, getting ready to start this new week here. Just want to touch on a couple of things real quick, just some house cleaning items, some updates, some news you can use as we get started. And then we'll jump into the message, but also we highly recommend getting interactive. This is your call. We put it together for you. So at the end of the call, we love to hear from you in terms of how was your Friday, how was your Sunday, Saturday, how was your entire weekend in terms of production? Did you get beat up? Did you have a great time? Were you out there being productive? So we'll open it up at the end, go over production numbers, and make sure that we get everybody an opportunity to kind of share with us how it went. There were some powerful messages last week. The calls continue just to get better and better. I love the interaction from last week from many of you on this call. John Haskins, Jim Diamato, Jason Horn, Deontay Pullman. There were so many people that chimed in and collaborated and just shared some words of wisdom last week. Absolutely love that. That's what this call is all about. We're going to continue to keep that theme alive as we progress and as we move forward. There's a lot of new producers that have been jumping on the call. They've jumped on and joined the company. Very excited about that as well. But as we look at the calendar, we look at things to come ahead here. I do want to let you know that AEP prep that we did a couple of weeks ago, Holden put a call together. Jeremy Gordy was on there. There were a lot of you on there. We did AEP prep. Those initial orders have been placed. So kudos to each and every one of you for getting on top of it, making sure that you had your geography, you had your targets in terms of lead count and your targets for app count for this AEP. You had those ready to go. That helped us tremendously get ahead of this preparational progress and process, I'll say, to be ahead of the curve. Thank you to all of you that participated. That was absolutely huge. So now we've got orders being processed, being placed well ahead of our deadline. So thank you to each and every one of you for that. That helped tremendously. Today's message, I'm going to keep it brief because I want to hear from you guys and gals on how your week finished up. I want to hear from you. I want to talk to you today. One of the things that I'm real big about whenever it comes to sharing a message is, though a lot of times it won't be as mechanical, even though we'll get into overcoming objections and rebuttals. We'll talk about building rapport, all of these things. One of the things that I like to talk about are more of the neck up items. I'm not going to get psychological on you today, but I do want to touch on something that all of these messages derive from successful people. I have the luxury and the pleasure of rubbing elbows with other successful individuals in our business, from the producer, from the IMO leader, from the carrier level, from many different walks of life and different pieces of our business. And there's a few things that continue to come up, and I like to share them with each and every one of you as messages. I'm not one that's going to get on here and pontificate and put myself up there on a pedestal. I like to actually use you, those of you that are extremely successful in the business, as examples. And I don't do it from a boastful perspective. Thankful for the opportunity to know you, and then also to get to know a lot of you that are, we're still establishing a relationship and getting to know each other. But one thing I've noticed, we talk about if you drew out the anatomy of a top producer, one thing that came to mind over the past couple of weeks, particularly this last week, getting to kind of rub elbows with some of our competitors as we were with Liberty Bankers last week. One thing that I noticed, there's a few things that I'm going to add into the attribute makeup of a top producer that I wanted to share with you today. And it may be something you can look in the mirror on and say, I'm really good at this. I'm glad Chase talked about it. I'm actually already really good at this. Or it's something that you can look at and say, wow, I'm not as good as I should be at this, or I'm struggling at this and I aspire to get better at this. And that item that I want to talk about today is being intentional. This business, as a lot of you who are new to it and you first get into it, I'm sitting in the office right now and I just look around, if your desk is dirty as all get out, if you're somebody that kind of lives in disarray and your car is all over the place and you got papers all over it, be intentional with cleaning your car up first and foremost. Good Lord. But the message that I want to share today is I've noticed with top producers, top achievers, top leaders, that they're intentional. They're intentional with their words. They're intentional with their actions. And sometimes that hurts feelings because some people get complacent. Some people get, okay with where they are and they don't like, having to make change. I can tell you right now, what I'm going to share with you is going to hopefully invoke change if you're somebody who feels themselves in a little bit of a rut or you're just looking to level up. So today I'm going to talk to you about intentionality. And this intentionality is going to go into many different aspects of our business. So follow along. So as we discuss the critical principle that can really transform how we sell, number one, how we view sales, and just how we go about our day to day, it's that word that I just mentioned, intentionality. In a world that's brimming with distractions, noise, obviously we know about social media, the power of intentionality is what sets exceptional top level achievers apart from the rest. And I can tell you right now, if I randomly unmute, which I'm more than happy to do, I won't, but I'm more than happy to do, I can tell you right now how Jason Horn is intentional with this, or how John Haskins is intentional with this. Bill Miller is intentional with this. Jack Skaggs, James Irwin. I can look at the roster of top producers that haven't just done it well, in 1 year, but have done it at a high level successfully throughout their career, many years. And that's what sets them apart. Being intentional in sales means more than just going through the motions. It's about purposely crafting every interaction, every pitch, every follow-up to align with the needs and aspirations of, first and foremost, our clients. That's the first and foremost, our clients. It's about listening actively, understanding deeply, and offering solutions that genuinely are going to make a difference. So when we're talking to our clients, you're going to have those days where you're just going through the motions. You're going to have those days where, well, I got to wait for this. I got to drop the kid off at school. You don't have your game face on yet. And then when you get to that first door, you got to brush off the breakfast off your chest. You got to turn the radio down, whatever it may be. It's one of those things where you're not ready. You're not locked in. You're not intentional. So we're going to get our game face on. We're going to talk about intentionality. And intentionality is going to extend into other aspects of our business as well. But overall, it's going to directly affect our growth. It encourages us to intentionally educate and continually educate ourselves about our products, our industry, and evolving needs of our clients. So I'm going to dive into a couple of areas where I want to highlight intentionality. And today, you can take a look. Am I lacking with intentionality in this area of my business, or am I on point? How you start your day? Well, first and foremost, I give you a kudos. You've got a routine. You've got a little bit of a method to the madness here in terms of your intentionality with this particular setup and being on this call. There's familiar faces and names that are on this every single day. So you have intentionality in terms of, I know when I get up at 8 a.m., whether it's 9 a.m. your time or if it's John Peterson's 6 a.m. your time, you know that you have the morning call that starts at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm intentional. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be present. I'm going to call my numbers out. I'm going to be listening. Hell, I may be taking notes based off of the speaker. I need to be plugged in. That's intentionality. How about your daily routine? Are you somebody, we've mentioned this before, are you shotgun blast, throw a bunch of stuff against the wall, see what sticks? Did I have a good day? Did I have a bad day? Or are you somebody who's measured? Did you do your prep work the night before? Are you half asleep right now, laying in bed or laying on the couch listening to this call? And then as soon as it ends, all right, then I'll get up, then I'll drink some coffee. Are you intentional with how you handle and how you plan out your day from a routine perspective? Do you have appointments that you booked the day before? Do you have a route designed and already mapped out to go and knock on doors today? Are you intentional with your daily routine? Now, we're going to talk about next your habits. Habits are what make us who we are on a day-to-day basis. Are you intentional with having good winning habits? Because if your routine is good, you start your day on the right note, but you're somebody who's easily distracted, or this happens to a lot of new producers in the business. If you're somebody who gets told no a couple of times, or they're not at a house, then we look for an out. We look for a way to go play on our phone and piddle, do non-revenue generating things. Like, let me go on this carrier website real quick. Well, it's work related, so it's totally okay. I'm working still. Still, we're kind of distracted away from the main objective. So once again, our habits, when we're out and about and we're supposed to be knocking and rocking, or we're supposed to be running appointments, this is our grind time. Are we grinding? How do your habits out in the field affect your day to day? Are you someone who's intentional with their habits? I work with a gentleman. I won't name his name because I don't want him to think I'm calling him out, because I actually mean this as a sign of love. There's a gentleman still to this day, and I don't believe in titles and all that stuff, but he always joked about, man, president of the company calls. I If I'm out and about, I love you, but I ain't answering. I'm out there to get it done. I got a job to do. This gentleman he's a terminator when it's go time. He is an absolute terminator. When it is time to go, it is time to go. And nothing will distract him. Nothing will derail him. Same thing to be said when he's calling and booking his appointments. Same to be said when he's door knocking. Same to be said when he's out in the field. That is my time to make magic happen. He's intentional. And he will not let me or anybody else break the bad habits. Oh my, I blew a tire out today. I don't have a spare. I can't get it to the, great. I want you to go ahead. I've got roadside assistance. Ship this thing over to Discount Tire. I'm going to go pick up, a rental car, and I'm going to go finish my day. He's a terminator. He's intentional. He's not going to be slowed down. Whatever it takes, he's going to do it. Your evolution of your learning is also another bullet point that I want to talk about. This goes directly and hand in hand with your maturation process. Being intentional with your learnings. If you're somebody that sees a message in the group chat, and I don't care if you like my posts, I don't care if you love them, I don't care if you don't even look at them. But if you're somebody who does not pay attention to what is posted in the chat, you're missing out. If Holden Hassel drops a nugget in there, if Gary Wright, outside of jabbing Jason Horn with a lovely little joke, if he posts a nugget in there that's there to help you and you miss it, that's on you. Be intentional with your learning. There is good stuff put in the chat. Jeff Poach mentioned something before. I think it was this morning. Scott Bryan. John Peterson's always dropping nuggets in there trying to help somebody else. If you're not imbibing information to help your business, you're missing out. That's not a good thing. I want you to be intentional with your education. If you feel like you're lacking in an area as a new producer, there's a reason that EFES University is open 24/7. If you're somebody who is struggling with that door approach and you haven't reached out for help, that's a problem. We need to address that. There are so many people willing to give and pour into you. I want you to be intentional with your education. There's no reason to ever feel like you're left to your own, like you're by yourself, because you're not. But the main point that I want to make is that education, continuing to just pour into yourself, continue to imbibe information. The moment you've got it all figured out and you stop learning, that's where you become just kind of old news. There are new methods, there's new ways, there's new practices, there's things that we don't know. That's why we've introduced Medicare. Oh my goodness, I wish we were doing Medicare 16 years ago when I joined Equita. How many top producers would have huge residual incomes then? That's all, I take blame for that, even though I had nothing to do with that. But it's one of those things where continuing to evolve, continuing to educate, and make sure that our habits are good and that our continuous evolution of our learning is on point. And then I'm going to touch on how to handle adversity. One thing that we talk about, Ron did a really good job talking about this a couple weeks ago, and it doesn't get talked about enough. We could talk about this every single day. Some people would get tired head. I wouldn't. In a business where no's are so prevalent, number one, we don't celebrate the yeses. I think every time somebody dings in the chat, there ought to be an attaboy, nice job, way to go. Because how many no's did it take to get to that yes? That's a different topic for another day. But my point is that how we handle adversity, we need to be intentional with how we handle adversity. Now, if you're sitting there wondering what the heck's Chase talking about, understanding that we're in a business of no's. Bill Miller and I talked about this probably 10 years ago, and it's still, I bring it up every once in a while now. Joe Chacho mentioned it on a podcast. We are in a business, to equate this to baseball, where you are going to get to the plate and you are going to fail 7 or 8 times out of 10, you get up to the plate. And if you can swing and you can hit and get in the plate and you can swing and you can take a swing and hit the ball 3 times out of 10, you're going to be a Hall of Famer. You're going to be elite. You're going to be an all-star. I want you to let that sink in today. If you're somebody who's struggling, if you're somebody who's, man, I don't know if this business is for me. Number one, are you intentional with your habits? Number two, are you out there putting the time in it takes to be successful? But number three, do you even realistically understand what the expectations are in our business? You're going to get beat up literally 8 to 7 times out of 10. You're going to get told no. You're going to get just told, get out of my house. I don't remember filling that out. That's not my problem. Get out. The elite are going to succeed 2, 3 out of 10 times. That's just the way it is. But are you intentional with understanding that rejection is going to be a part of what we do every single day? As we strive for intentionality, you have to remember that our success is intrinsically tied to the success of our customers. And we talk about it, you probably get tired head of it, but I'm going to say it. Some of you don't believe it, but I'm going to tell you I do, and I'm going to keep talking about it until hopefully you believe it. If we aim to serve even those that you think don't want you there, they don't care about you, you don't have a good attitude that day. If you will focus on serving, you will find that you'll start winning a little bit more. But if you're so caught up in your own stuff, your own problems, your own issues, because you didn't feel like getting up this morning, that guy on the morning call, he didn't really get me juiced up. Is that okay? If you will focus on serving, I got to get this information to Betty. Man, she told me no, I'm not going to let her off that easy. She doesn't understand what this is really all about. I need to explain. I need to get better rapport with her. And you focus on the serving, you'll see the wins. You'll see them stack up. It's like a relative. Everybody has that relative, and it may be in one walk of life and some subject or one or another where you've maybe got a level of expertise and they don't. My dad was this way, and I love him. God rest his soul. Like, we used to argue about things. The one thing I couldn't beat him on sports. He'd been around a lot longer than me. He knew about the guys well, back in the day. I couldn't argue with him about it. But we start talking about certain things today, and he just wouldn't budge. So I'd have to hit him with some knowledge, hit him with some facts, and still he would just kind of be like, oh, I know what I'm talking about. Our clients give us the same objections. They give us that same wall. If we are intentional with our approach and our focus on serving, we're going to tear that wall down brick by brick. But if we come in there and we say, they don't want it, I'm out. We're not following the process. We're not intentional with the trainings that we've had, that we've gone through. We're looking for laydowns. And some of the greatest sales that are there to be made are not laydowns. The laydowns is the cherry on top of the sundae. You got to work for the good sales. So if you're met with resistance, lean back on your training. If you're met with resistance, understand that we have to serve. We got to serve a little bit more. Mary doesn't understand what I'm saying here. She doesn't understand this policy that she's had for 22 years that she says is with Primerica. She doesn't understand that it's a term policy. I got to do everything I can to get her to get this policy out so I can show her. I was in a house with Taylor Urich on the Blitz that we did last month. And this lady swore up and down to us that she was paying $47 a month. She had $26,000 or whatever it was in life insurance with Lincoln Heritage. And I'm not bashing Lincoln Heritage, but I know how long she's had that policy, and I know Lincoln Heritage rates. I know that she doesn't have what she thinks she has. So I want to serve. I want to push. I'm going to push in a professional way. I'm going to push to just make sure she knows I'm serving her and want to help her. Man, do you mind? I know it's an inconvenience. Do you mind getting up, grabbing that policy? Let's take a look. I want to show you something real quick in this policy, just to make sure that you got what you think we have, okay? She goes and gets it. Dude, I'm not even exaggerating. She's paying $47 a month. Not $4,700, that'd be even worse. $47 a month. And she had $2,800 worth of coverage, and she had a $10,000 accidental policy tacked onto it. If you would have just passed, if you would have just ran off from that house, there's an opportunity lost to help somebody. Get comfortably uncomfortable with asking the questions. They're going to fight you. And it's not to be, once again, not to be unprofessional, but get there so you can help them. Be intentional with your service. Be intentional. I'm going to say it 100 million times until the call's over. Because sometimes we let off the gas. Sometimes we're like, oh, it's not for me. On to the next one. Sometimes on to the next one is the right frame of mind. But in a lot of situations, it's not. Don't give up. Be intentional with your service. Be intentional with your focus to help that client. Infuse intentionality into every aspect of your sales journey. If you can draw on a whiteboard your sales journey, and I will end with this. If you can draw on a whiteboard, on a white piece of paper, I don't care what it is, draw it on your computer. If you can map out your sales journey, are you intentional with each and every point from starting to finish? Or do you see yourself relaxed? Are you somebody who's too good to do one aspect? Like, we found really good people fail out of this business because they were too good to door knock. Like our recruiters internally, are you too good to dial resumes? I don't think so. We're trying to find good people that share those same core values. If you're not good enough to dial go in and knock on a door, It's going to be tough. I'm not saying you can't succeed, but it's going to be tough. Be intentional and infuse intentionality in every aspect of your sales journey. Draw it out on the board. From the moment your feet hit the floor, you do this. From the moment I'm in the field, I do this. Is there any part of it where you're just lacking and you don't have that intentionality? Intentionality can also be considered passion and purpose and push and drive. I'll let off the gas on you this morning on that because it's Monday and I don't want to get in the pulpit and start preaching at you and just go off on it. But there's some of you that just need to turn the dial. Some of us call it that light bulb going off. You have time. You have time to make changes. You have time to see this progress be made, but you got to put the work in to go with it. And the work is done in the field, but it's also done when we're not in the field. That education, continue to imbibe it. If Jason Horn, you see a message in the chat saying Jason Horn is going to be speaking on the call tomorrow, man, I better be on that call. I better have pen and paper ready. Ron Reed's talking on Thursdays. I'm going to be on there. I'm going to listen. Jeremy Gordy's about to tell me about some annuity, but I need to be plugged in. I need to listen. And it's not because we want to sit and pontificate. We want to push the information out that those of us who have been around it for a while, that may be able to help you. I want to randomly unmute James Irwin every once in a while. Say, James, 10 minutes, just go. I don't want to put him on the spot because he may punch me when I see him next time, but I want you to hear these voices. Hear from these top producers that have been doing it for a long time and take what they have to offer and put it into what you do every day. Why? Because they've already done it. They've already shown you how to be successful. So plug in, be intentional with your actions today, and focus on serving. Focus on serving those clients. You better be authentic with it, because if you're fraudulent with it, and I don't mean like fraudulent business, I mean like if you are not authentic with caring about that client, they're going to smell it, they're going to see it, they're going to hear it. Love them up like their mom and dad. Love them up like their grandma and grandpa. Serve somebody today, and you're going to see that quality of business improve. You're going to see your numbers improve, but be intentional today.